And this is the breakdown, talks about the mid-air collision between the RJ and the Hilo over the Potomac River, which includes the last communications from Pat 25 requesting visual separation from the jet.
Yeah, 789, contact Bell Park today.
Okay.
American 3130, call the final.
Well, American 3130.
Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge is CRJ at 1,200 feet, start runway 33.
South has a traffic site request visual separation.
This separation crew. American 1630, start runway 1 lot void, traffic throughout.
Okay, so right there, this is pretty much the first call of Pat 25. Pat 25 is on this route, this established helicopter route, which is going to take him in very close proximity to runway 33 approach in. It's going to take him fairly close to the approach in of runway 101, which runway 1 is kind of like paralleling, but it cuts in a little bit on this route. Again, I've never worked this airport. I've never worked this airspace. I don't know the intricacies of what's going on there. I'm just looking at what's here. Pat 21 is roughly, I would say, maybe up to, let's say he's 2 miles northeast of the airport. Here's the airport here, like this funny looking triangle. Those are the 3 runways. You got runway 1, you got runway 33, and again, you have another third runway. There's probably like runway 4 or something like that, maybe 5 or something like that. So you have these 3 runways. We're going to be concerned ourselves with runway 1 and runway 33. Right. So what's good, man? Drill, good to see you. So on this first call, Pat 25 gets his call from the tower, and the tower immediately calls traffic. Right. We talked about this on this platform before. What is traffic? Traffic is an aircraft or terrain or some sort of obstruction that the air traffic controller believes that that this helicopter is going to get in close proximity to. So he wants to get that information out there. In this case, it's a jet. It's a jet. So they make the traffic call on the very first transmission. That's good. Right? That's good that he's making the call. The problem is the distance. Right. The problem with this particular traffic call is how far apart the helicopter is from the jet at this time. What the controller is doing is getting ahead of the problem. He knows there's going to be a problem at some point. He needs to get the helicopter pilot to see this jet. He knows the helicopter pilot is going to ask to provide visual separation, going to ask for visual separation, which is a separation thing. It's a form of separation, IFR separation. I'm not going to get you into the weeds on that, but basically the controller knows the pilot is going to ask for these things. He's like, well, let me get this out the way now. I got the pilot looking for the traffic. The pilot says he sees the traffic. The helicopter pilot says, yes, we see the traffic. The air traffic controller tells him visual is approved. That's the separation thing that he's relying on. And he tells him to pass behind the jet. Now, here's the problem with all that. The problem with all that is there is a sea of lights underneath this airplane. This airplane is out here on final for runway 1 right now. And we don't know what the helicopter pilot sees. We know there are multiple airplanes out there on final for this runway. It's nighttime. You'll be surprised what you can see at night and how far away you can see stuff at night. I'll give you a story. I was working at Van Nuys one night. A clear night in Southern California, San Fernando Valley. We were departing and landing to the north, which is not our normal configuration, but for this time of year, Santa Ana winds. You guys have heard about this because of all the fires, right? It's Santa Ana season. We're landing 3-4. Got a pilot out there, a very competent pilot, flying his own airplane like a Mooney or something like that. It's just a small, private, lightweight airplane. You know, this guy's very sharp. Most pilots, almost all pilots, are very meticulous. This guy was one of those guys who was known as being a little sassy. You know what I mean? Little sassy pants, like to talk a lot of stuff out there. If he thinks air traffic is making a mistake, he likes to point it out. So he'd be like, aha, I got you, right? So I tell this guy, he's on the downwind leg. And I tell this guy, he's cleared to land runway 34 left, and I give the win. And the pilot's like, you know what? We're not going to land. We're going to follow this traffic out here. So this is his way of sticking it to me, right? There's someone out here, Tower, and you didn't do your job, Tower. You didn't sequence me. You didn't have me follow this guy. I'm going to follow that traffic, right? That's the guy trying to stick it to me, right? I'm like, okay, cool. So right away, I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm good at what I do back then. I was really good at what I did, but I wasn't perfect. So I took a look around. I look outside. I look at my radar. I look down at my notes. Every air traffic controller should keep a pad. If you're in a tower, you can write down stuff. I'm like, I don't have any airplanes out there transitioning. I don't have any airplanes out there, inbound to land. There's no fires. I don't have any fire aircraft out there. And I look out the window and I can see what this guy is looking at. Right? I can see what he's looking at. I'm like, oh, okay. He's trying to get me. Well, I got a trick for him. So I said, all right, you're going to follow that traffic out there. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to follow this traffic tower. And I said, well, how much gas do you have on board? He's like, why? Why are you on that? I'm like, because that traffic you're going to follow out there, that's Venus. You're going to need a lot of gas if you want to follow that, if you want to follow Venus. It was a clear night in Southern California, man. Venus was out there. This guy saw this light out there. It was a planet, and he thought that was traffic for him to follow. You see this light out there, right? So just to give you an idea of how difficult it can be at nighttime, everything is all lit up, right? You can see these airplanes out there no matter where they are. If you're at Van Nuys on a clear night, you can see airplanes departing off of LAX and climbing out, going east, parts east. You can see them. See airplanes out there, especially when they turn that big light towards you as they're climbing out, right? So it's crazy out there. Mr. Cole, what's good? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you. If anyone out there is watching at any point during this live, if you have any questions, hey, let me know. Got any questions? Just don't be shy. Put them in there in the chat there, and I'll do my best to answer it. So this helicopter, PAT-25, military helicopter, they're flying down this established route. This helicopter route gets dangerously close to two of your runways, two of your active runways, extremely close to runway 33. And you're calling traffic to this helicopter that's 5-6 miles away. I mean, it's pretty far, maybe 4 miles away. I can't really tell with this chart exactly how far away this aircraft is, but it's pretty far away. Let's say this aircraft is 4 miles away and the helicopter is 2 miles northeast, right? So that's 6 miles. The pilot says exactly what you want the pilot to say, and everyone seems to be happy. The air traffic controller got what he wanted. The pilot got what he wanted. But does the pilot actually see the traffic that's going to be a factor? That is the question. I was talking about experienced air traffic controllers. If there was an experienced air traffic, it was an old grumpy controller in the tower, the first thing that grumpy controller would say is, hold that helicopter. Hold that helicopter somewhere. Make sure he sees the traffic. And the young controller's like, well, he saw the traffic. Like, bro, you don't know what he saw. This helicopter's out here flying around. There's a regional jet, JAZ 789. This regional jet just took off from the airport and just flew right by him. Is he looking at this regional jet right here? There's a regional jet that just landed runway 33. Right? Is he looking at the regional jet that just landed runway 33? He's like, oh, that guy's not going to be a factor. I'm going to stay behind him. There's a Boeing 737 in position, ready to depart on runway 1. Right? So the helicopter's looking at that. Like, does he know the difference between a regional jet and a 737? So what exactly does this helicopter see? Now, again, the air traffic controller didn't use what we consider a traffic standard, or standard traffic call using clock positions. Okay, what does a standard traffic call sound like? Traffic, 12 o'clock, 8 miles, right? Direction of flight, north, south, east, or west. Altitude, level, climbing, descending, right? This is right out of the book. So if you're going to make this traffic call with this particular helicopter in this particular jet, traffic, 2 o'clock, 6 miles, northbound, 1,000, descending, regional jet. Report traffic in sight. That traffic call will eliminate any other question out here. All right, he said that traffic's to my 2 o'clock out there. That traffic is out there 6 miles away. He can't be talking about this regional jet that just passed me. He can't be talking about this regional jet that just landed on the runway. He can't be talking about that 737 that's on runway 1 waiting to go. Okay, there has to be another airplane out there. Oh, okay, I see a light. I see a light off in the distance. I see some lights out there. So the pilot's going to say, yeah, we got traffic in sight. As an older, and a lot of people might say, well, you're just talking this stuff, man, because, you know, you Monday morning quarterbacking and this and that. Like, nah, bro, that's a technique. I need to be sure you see the traffic that I'm talking about, and you keying up too fast. Another thing you got to take into consideration is this is a military helicopter. You don't know who's flying this helicopter. You don't know where this crew came from. It's not like you're talking to local law enforcement or fire or local media or your lifeguard, your life flights. Those crews tend to fly the airspace all the time. They live there. It makes more sense when you make a traffic call saying, hey, you're following traffic that's over some bridge. Right? You're following traffic that's over some bridge. So the local boys and girls will know what you're talking about. But if you're just doing a training flight, you're coming in, you're in your military helicopter, you may not be familiar with these local reporting points. So you always want to use a standard traffic call. Sister T is in the building. What's good, love? I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for your comments. I hope good to see you. Happy New Year. I haven't seen you since last year, girl. So thank you so much for coming through, man. I appreciate your support. And yes, please do like the video, guys. And Miss Nicole, she's like, she was a gate agent at Burbank. Oh, that's what's up, girl. I was right down the street. I was right down Sherman Way. I was at Van Nuys. I spent the majority of my career at Van Nuys. So you guys have some close calls in the last few years. Yes, there has been a spike in near misses in the national airspace system. Still, our system is the best system on the world and in the world on the planet, and that's true. But there's been a spike in near misses. Why? There's a lot of people coming through training. There's a lot of people getting that experience. And you can attribute the near misses being misses and not hits because you got older controllers sitting back there watching, working. Hey, don't do this. Here's a technique. It takes years to pick this stuff up. Years. So I don't want you guys to be afraid to fly or anything like that. Flying is still the safest way to travel. You are way more likely to get into an accident driving to your local grocery store and getting hurt than you will having to deal with something like this. This just doesn't happen a lot in the United States of America. It just doesn't. So these are the things that I'm looking at. I'm looking at how quick this military pilot saw the traffic and called it out. Yeah, we got the traffic. We'll maintain visual separation. We'll stay behind that traffic. The air traffic controller wanted to hear that. There's a lot of anticipating. I need him to say that so I can do the next thing. This air traffic controller is in the process of putting an airplane on runway 1. He has an airplane that's about 4 miles away that's landing on runway 33. There's another airplane 3 miles in trail of that RJ. There's a Airbus behind the RJ that's going to be landing runway 1. He has to land runway 1. So this controller wants and needs to get this airplane on the runway, ready to go and launch him before that Airbus gets close. And the airplane that he's launching has to follow the regional jet that he just departed. Now, regional jets can fly pretty good. Below 10,000 feet, man, it can fly as good as anyone. So not really worried that much about this 737 this departing is going to catch up with this jet, but we don't know what their separation requirements are and stuff like that. Yeah, and Brother Cody was saying, yeah, what's good, Cody? Yeah, it's like 15 years was the last time we had a major accident like this involving air carriers, but they're not telling you about the big airplanes. There are people who own their own 737s. They own Airbuses. They're not air carriers. They're considered general aviation. Things happen with those airplanes all the time. You won't hear about that because they're not at air carrier airports. They're at these smaller airports. They're not at the major airports. You know what I mean? I got my brother in the building, Falcon Laser Strike Force. He and I were talking about this. This is the reason I was late. Brother Carlos, who is a pilot, who's flown in Southern California and on the West Coast, confirmation bias, bro. Pilots are trained to be aware of confirmation bias. Controllers are trained to be aware of that. And that's exactly what's going on, man. Absolutely correct. Appreciate that, man. We got G Complex in the building, bro. What's good, man? Yeah, and you're welcome. I mean, if I can do something on aviation, bro, if something happens in aviation, you guys know I can jump on that. I'm gonna definitely jump on that. I mean, come on, that's what I did for over 20 years. FAA, right? I got 4 years Army. I learned how to become an air traffic controller in 1990. Right. So yeah, we're absolutely, yeah, I'm all about that. So I just wanted to paint the picture, guys. There's a lot going on. This will be considered moderate traffic. This is moderate traffic, not a lot of complexity, except for this helicopter route. If this helicopter wasn't in the picture, this would be very routine, not busy at all, regular traffic. This is something you can do, you know what I mean, with one eye closed. I mean, it's not that difficult. But when you add this helicopter to the scenario, it becomes very, very complex, and it can get away from you quick. We're talking about our nation's capital, bro. There's a lot of restricted airspace. There's a lot of stuff they can't deviate. They have to fly these routes. Now, the controller can hold these helicopters, just tell them to hold position or give them a point to hold over, and either have them fly around in circles in a standard holding pattern or just have them hover. If the controller had gave this helicopter a spot to hold, he could have taken care of getting his departure out. He could take care of this guy off the departure in. Okay, let's get him turned on the heading. Let's get him climbing to where he needs to be. Let's ship him off to the next controller. Okay, now let's launch the 737 who's in position, because the guy that was landing on 3-3 has already passed his runway. No longer a factor. I can launch this guy. He's going. Right, the guy on the runway who landed 3-3, hey, contact ground or go to parking, whatever, got that done. And that helicopter would just be holding that position. Just kind of sitting right there holding. Now he got this RJ, circle to land 3-3, clear the land, things are good. And then you'll see the other big jet coming behind him is going to land on runway 1. Okay, cool. I'm only working 2 airplanes now. Things are looking good. Let me give another traffic call to this helicopter. Hey, now I'm gonna give you another traffic call on this regional jet who was going to be landing on runway 3-3. That is what the old timers would want to do. Let's guarantee we have some separation here. We know that this route is going to take him way too close to our approach end of the runway we're using, one of the runways we're using. So let's just get this guy out of the picture. Right? One of the things that you learn as an air traffic controller as you become a journeyman and you just kind of getting better and picking up techniques, whenever you have a situation where it's just, oh man, I don't know what to do. This is crazy. I got all these airplanes. All you have to do is follow Little Stevie rule. It's the golden rules of Little Stevie. If you're watching this, Little Stevie, shout out to you. It's one of our buddies that I worked with for years at Van Nuys. One of Little Stevie's rules is you find the aircraft that's a problem for you and remove them. You know what? Everything I'm trying to do will work really good right now if I didn't have this helicopter, or if I didn't have this Cessna, or if I didn't have this jet. It's one airplane that's messing up your plan. You find that airplane and remove them, and your plan works. That's what old controllers do. We sit back and we look at it. It's 3D chess. Like, man, I'm working too hard right here. Let me move this Cessna out of the way. Let me move this Cherokee out of the way. Let me break this Bonanza out. Let me send this Gulfstream around. Let me pull him off the approach, getting back to the radar guys. If I can do that, then I'm solid. And that's what you do. That's what you do as an air traffic controller.